five.
And welcome in, everybody, to the MHRT Podcast. I'm your host, Mundungus Creevy, alongside my co-host, 6'10", Mr. Bog and Glenn Hauser. We are a fan-led, Broncos-based podcast, filling you in on all things NFL news, but more importantly, Broncos news. We go live every Thursday, 7654, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. And ladies and gentlemen, we are on a quest for 1,000. I've been asked multiple times, how do we support the podcast? The best way to do that is to help us reach 1,000 subs on YouTube. Now, Glenn has thrown up on Facebook that once we've hit that 1,000 subscribers, he will do the very next podcast wearing the Barrelman barrel. And I asked him specifically, with clothing underneath or no clothing, and he said none. So, obviously, you're going to want to watch that.
Pay-per-view, baby.
Pay-per-view, baby, after we hit that 1,000 subscribers. So make sure you slap that thumbs up button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share so that you can know when we go live, anytime we post amazing content on our pages, and so that other Broncos fans out there in Broncos country can know that we are here and we are live and we are podcasting and we are awesome.
Agreed.
I just have to monitor the air conditioning that day.
Just put a fan. Just put a little battery pack with a fan that just blows upward.
Oh, Dave Glassman. I can't subscribe any more times.
Thank you, Dave.
Just make a bunch of different
Just
YouTube accounts.
one more.
Just one more.
Uno más.
Bob Skinner, sup, Broncos country? How we doing? EJ, what's up, Broncos country? Actually, he said county, but hey, I'll take it. Either way works.
County within the country.
So
Exactly.
I wouldn't say we have like major news, but we have some news. Like there's two very specific things that I want to talk about. One is that we have now signed a future Hall of Famer that will change the direction of the Denver Broncos. Max Duffy from Kentucky, the punter. We've signed him, and we are now on the path to Super Bowl 50, whatever we're at now. Something.
Mm-hmm.
4, 5, 6. I don't even know.
It's one of those things when they say you'll never forget where you were when you heard this news or when this happened. And Mike will never forget where he was when he heard that Duffy from Kentucky was signed to a Broncos
That's
contract.
right.
It's a monumentous occasion.
Well, and I wouldn't say that we had any issues with punting. I mean, I thought
No.
Martin did pretty good last year, but I'm hearing a lot about
Cost.
Duffy being able to push Martin, possibly taking the spot or releasing Martin. I don't know, but I'm excited for a punter.
Yeah. Max Duffy, under 600,000. So like it's why not? If you bring him in, he beats out Sam Martin. Sure. Like I think they said they would save about $2 million if they cut Sam Martin. So, get some more money for potentially another, ad or just roll over for next year.
Yeah. Sam Martin had a pretty decent season last year. He only had one really bad game, and that was the game against the Bucs, where I believe he gave up a blocked kick or something or other. So it wasn't like Marquette King bad, because Marquette King looked really good on paper, and then when he hit the field, it was just terrible. So, welcome aboard, Duffy from
Duffy, not Maxie from Duffy from
Maxie.
This is
Bob Skinner says wrong kicker. I don't disagree.
this is one of those where show it's the off season without saying it's the off season. Welcome to the show tonight. Broncos signed a punter.
Oh,
Drew Lock
my
threw an
God.
interception in practice.
oh, jeez.
That's how you know it's the offseason.
Yeah.
Actually, that's how you know it's a season.
Yeah.
We'll get to the Drew Lock interception thing in a second, because I know that we're going to get some crazy comments on that one, which is fine. My second bit of big news, the 4th episode of Behind the Broncos came out, and there was one thing that I saw on there that completely changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys see that snack table?
Oh yeah, that's the first
Before
thing
he
I
went
noticed.
into the draft room.
Yeah,
I was weeping. I was so upset that I didn't have one of those.
I was kind of surprised that all he grabbed was a bottle of water. I
Yeah.
would have grabbed
full
one of
arms,
everything.
Grabbed as much as I could.
I would have told
I
the
would have
camera
loved to be
guy.
that intern that got to go out and buy that specific mini orange fridge and the specific snacks. I would have loved to be that person to do that. It's just funny that it's just like in the tightest hallway too, and like a kind of small table for everything, and then you turn around and walk into the conference center, and you're just like, oh, this is where the money is.
I can almost guarantee that Peyton was throwing in some of those snacks as part of like one of the trade.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not one of the coolest conferences?
Like,
you've
listen,
ever seen in your life, though.
We'll give you a 4th round pick. You give us a 6 and a 5, and we'll throw in some Cheez-Its.
Seemed like it.
That's
you could tell he was having fun.
Terry, I'm giving you a 4. I'm giving you a whatchamacallit. Come on.
You could tell he was having a good time in there though. Like,
is everybody happy? Is everybody okay? You okay with that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. that was good though. I like that he wasn't like straight dictator. He was going through and like actually cared what everybody else had to say. I mean, Elway barely said a word.
Yeah, Elway was just looking at his sheet. He probably wasn't like that. I don't know. You agree with that, John? Like, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the big uproar over Peyton saying that Surtain was the safe pick. And honestly, I don't think like. Obviously, they didn't make like a big splash by going and getting somebody, but I take that as he's the safest pick as far as not being a bust. Like,
sure thing.
I think that there are no sure things,
Blue chip,
but there's like as close as can possibly be, and he would be that one.
It's kind of like when we picked up didn't pick up Josh Allen. Sorry, when we didn't pick up Quentin Nelson, or when we didn't, or when we did pick up Bradley Chubb. Like, it's those type of players. Like, those would be considered safe picks. Like, you just are 90% sure what you're getting. So it's I'll take the safe pick. You know.
Yeah.
It didn't even dawn on me. It didn't even dawn on me when he said it that it could be anything but positive.
Yeah.
And then today, of course, like the
people went nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
but I think that's why a lot of people were so upset. Like, right at the draft was like, that's who you're going to pick. Like, there was this whole buildup of, holy crap, we're going to get this guy or we're going to get this guy. And then we got him. And it's like, come on. I mean, look back at it like, yeah.
Comparatively to the other picks that we potentially could have got. I mean, I guess not Rashawn Slater. Rashawn Slater, I think, would have been also considered safe pick also. So,
no,
but we didn't get Justin Fields. Didn't get Justin Fields, which wouldn't have been a safe pick. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, that whole thing has kind of died down for now.
Mm-hmm.
But if Denver's quarterback starts to struggle and Justin Fields going into the season starts lighting it up and the Bears are on fire, you better believe that whole issue is going to come back around like a boomerang, and people are going to be talking about it. So
we're going to have stuff to talk about then.
Oh, definitely. I agree.
Oh, let's see here. Oh, there's another thing. Not really part of the Broncos thing, but Chad from MHH is at the hospital with his wife. I don't know if they've had the baby yet, but she's in the process, I guess. Is that what you say? She's in the process of having a baby or giving birth.
If you don't know the terminology, none of us will.
I want to try to keep it somewhat clean. Like,
yeah. Send your well wishes, send your prayers out to their family, man. It's exciting. Good times.
Early congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I guess.
I'm excited to hear the name. He threw out three options last night.
Dude, I'm telling you, there's a Mundungus in there somewhere.
Oh.
Dude,
Crazy.
I thought, okay, so
crazy.
We found out that we're having a girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
I fought tooth and nail for Hermione. She says no.
Why don't you just go with Peyton?
Just go to Herm. Or Moyne.
Oh, man.
It's tricky, though. You never tell people what you're, especially, I guess, my age for a friend group, you never tell what the name that you want. I did that with my friend. Yeah. And they're like, oh, that's on our top list too. And I was like, oh crap. And then I just threw out another random name. And they're like, oh, and then like my buddy's girl started almost like crying because she's like, oh my gosh, I like feel that name. And I was like, perfect. Stay away from mine.
I tried, Chris. I tried. That one didn't work either.
That's my fiance's dog's name. So
like we picked
That's
a
my
name,
neighbor's
and then,
name.
like we told my parents what the name was, and then my sister texted me the next day like, "Hey, you stole my name." I was like, "Hey, you should have popped one out before I did." And like you have one, I have 5 going on 6. Like I was going to run into your name.
Tell her catch up, man.
There's only so many I can pick before I run out of names. All right. So then we go into Bradley Chubb's ankle surgery for his bone spur. They said he'll be ready for training camp, right?
Yeah, potentially.
Because it wasn't as bad as what they thought. It was better than they thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. So is Green Bay still going to take him, or do you think? I love Chubb.
I don't know if I want to give him though. No,
I don't either.
And we were talking about this before we went on, before we went live. The Stephen A. Smith thing, where he said that Aaron Rodgers had walked into an office of a Green Bay Packers front office person, and he was told to shut up and play football.
That sure helps. I
mean, that's
if that's true, then that
yeah, that sure made him get on that plane to Hawaii a little bit easier.
Yeah, he seems like he's going through a tough time in Hawaii right now. So none of you also seen on Twitter.
Mike, was that supposed to be recent?
Yeah, I guess that was recent.
Oh my gosh,
they
really don't want him.
But it's it also could be a lot of Rodgers agents pushing out stuff that's not necessarily true to kind of try to separate a bit, or to try to push towards a contract extension, because even though the reports of them trying to give it, like offering him some huge contract, that those aren't true. So it's probably just a lot of like push and play.
Yeah, EJ, do you guys think Peyton will get Rodgers? And there was a bunch of stories like a week ago that was saying that like all of this was started by his agent, and he's just using the Broncos to, kind of what Boggins was saying. He was using the Broncos to get a bigger contract, but he's been offered a bigger contract and didn't take it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the like. I don't think that Green Bay is going to trade him, because they could trade him for probably more next year. I don't see him leaving Green Bay.
And I don't think Rodgers necessarily used the Broncos. He's never specifically
I don't think it was him.
It's a lot of media putting like the pieces together that it would be a great marriage, and his fiance living in Boulder and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that he has actually specifically. I mean, I'm sure he would love to come to. I mean, why not? But I don't think he specifically said that, so I don't think he's using the Broncos necessarily as leverage, but his agent might. His agent is that's probably his game for sure.
Well, if you saw the Kenny Mayne interview the other night, which was somewhat interesting, I certainly made sure to tune in. He talked about how he loves the Green Bay tradition, he loves the fans, he loves his teammates, he loves the coaching staff. And the only thing he left out was, I hate the front office.
Mr. Gunterkunst or whatever his name is.
Yeah. And they don't even really have owners. Like, I mean, they have a CEO or whatnot that specifically like looks over everything, but they don't have a formal ownership there. So it's kind of complex as far as like what you're going to do with the GM, and are you really going to push out your GM
they're not gonna
for
they're not
an agent?
No,
you know what I mean?
there's
So
no
it's-
way.
They would never do that.
Well, I mean, I do get the argument of like people saying that Rodgers is so upset because he doesn't really have any say in anything. Like I get that. Like there's only probably a select few quarterbacks that probably would be able to sit down with the front office and say, listen, this is the person that I want you to bring in, and they would actually have the pull to do that. Rodgers is one of them. And so Tom Brady going from the Patriots to the Bucks, he's like, listen, I want you to bring Gronkowski in here, bring AB in here. And they're like, okay, we'll work on it. Whereas, if Rodgers goes to the front office, they're like, you just go play football. It's like, who would know better than Rodgers, like who he would want to throw to, or who, he would want blocking for him, or who he'd want running behind him, or, something.
Yeah.
So I understand that point of he could be upset because he's not really getting his opinion out there at all. Like they don't even care. But I don't see him leaving right now, and I won't until we get past the the June 1st, June 2nd mark. And then
and don't expect things to happen right away either. Like as soon as June 1st hits, they haven't even like been in talks. They're not even willing to put that out there yet. So I don't see it happening anytime soon. I think I put it at 15% chance that the Broncos get him, and it's probably even less than that. So
oh, come on. I agree with Bob Skinner. I think we get him. And another thing that was interesting in that interview was Aaron mentioned that this whole plan was put into place by the team a year ago, and he threw a wrench into it by getting the MVP. Yeah. And he's right, though. I mean, they traded up to get another quarterback and didn't even have the decency to just tip him off. I mean, the Broncos, before they traded for Bridgewater, Fangio and Peyton went looking for Drew Lock in the headquarters to talk to him and tell him this was happening. Now, you do that to just a standard quarterback. Mm-hmm. I mean, a top 10 all-time NFL quarterback, you don't have the decency to just tip him off that you traded up. Mm-hmm. I mean, and now it's backfired because this guy is not ready to be the guy. Yeah. And Rodgers throws for 45 touchdowns last year.
Especially a new regime too. That's right. Ballsy. That's ballsy. Can you imagine a new regime not even having the decency to talk to Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah,
that's crazy to me.
And that's after a 13-win season. They've won 13 games in the regular season 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. They drafted Jordan Love after a 13-win season, thinking that Rodgers was just going to fall apart. I don't get it.
And then Adrian Dillon.
Yeah,
another running back.
So I can't.
Way to go, Goody!
Our team with our weapons, with Aaron Rodgers. Are you kidding me? And this defense, I mean, I don't care how many draft picks you have to give up. Take him.
You know what? I saw a meme just before we went live. I don't know if it's actually a true player, but it was basically Matt LaFleur talking to Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers asked him, like, can we get a DeAndre Hopkins? And Matt LaFleur says, we have a DeAndre Hopkins at home. And then it's on the bottom, it's like the Packers draft DeAndre Thompkins. So you're from the Eagles or something. So I was like,
now, Raul has an interesting question. And this is what I love about being a fan-led podcast. Like, we can go wherever we want and talk whatever.
This is a good one.
Raul, guys, Seattle used to be in our division. Can you imagine the league having the Broncos move to a different or new division, and what teams you see with them?
Well, you
almost kind of have to base it off location, right?
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. I didn't know Seattle used to be in the same division as Denver.
You would kind of have to
Seattle,
put them in
San Diego, Oakland, and Denver.
You'd kind of have to put them in the NFC West and put them with Seattle, San Francisco. And who else is in there with them?
It'd be interesting if it was conference, like we jumped over to the NFC West or something.
Jumped or switched?
Either or.
Yeah.
What? Jumped or switched?
Like you switch places with another, like with an NFC West team.
Yeah.
Who's the other NFC West team? Rams?
The other NFC. Which one did you say?
No, it's okay. So Seattle, San Francisco,
Cardinals, San
Francisco, Seattle.
Yeah. 4.
Okay, hold on. One more time. San Francisco, Seattle, Cardinals
and
the Rams.
Rams.
Okay.
Rams. Yeah.
I don't know.
I said San Francisco, and then
at that point, you'd almost have to switch like Denver and Arizona.
But when that switch happened, that's when the Texans happened too, wasn't it? Like there was an expansion.
Yeah,
team.
That was in 2001.
Because otherwise, you'd have uneven. I mean, it would have to be. Yeah, you'd have to swap out. I guess. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we go to the NFC East?
I was thinking that.
Please.
No, because then we have to fly to the East Coast for like 8 out of our games at least.
Well, we are starting the season off at MetLife.
Yeah.
So we got Giants, we got Eagles,
Washington football team,
football team, and the Cowboys.
Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry World.
Pick Washington out because they're somewhat looking good, and we'll take their spot.
Yeah,
I'm down with that.
So our new division could be something along the lines of Arizona, Dallas, and even Houston. I mean, it couldn't it be something like that, or would Houston be with the Saints? I mean, this is a fun question.
So
Yeah,
think about
because-
it this way. Let's say that they want to add teams. Can they only add one at this point? Because that would throw everything off, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think
Because
Well, there would
because everybody's got 4.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So if you added 1, it'd be everybody with 4 except 1 with 5. But then if you had 2, you still got 2 with 5. Like
Mhm.
how if they were to add a team, say like Mexico City or London, like would they have to add other teams as well, or reshuffle, or
Oh, if they did London, oh,
yeah,
I would think so. I would think that they
Well,
would make
and-
a plan like where they would create other teams, so then that way every division gets a new team.
God, I really hope they don't do London.
Well, and
Can
they
you
were
imagine those poor
talking-
players, man.
Well, on the
jet
Broncos
lag.
talk, they were talking about. I want to say it was Bob Skinner was saying that they would. It was either Bob Skinner or Maha Prophet. They were talking about if the Chargers ended up going somewhere else, the first place they'd probably go is Mexico City, because that would make the most amount of sense.
That was on Tuesday. Yeah, that was
Because then
Maha
you're not worrying about flying overseas. You're also got a bigger market down there.
And I'm
Yeah.
surprised we
But
haven't
I don't know why the
gone
I
like
don't know why the
basketball
Chargers
and,
would do it. They've got like
and-
5 fans.
and done like Toronto and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like I think Canada would make more sense than.
If that happens, they're going to need a whole new field because let's not forget what was supposed to happen in that Kansas City Chargers game 2 seasons ago, and that football field looked completely tore up. Or no, I'm sorry, it was the Chiefs and the Rams game that was supposed to happen in Mexico City, and because the field was all beat up, they ended up playing in LA, and it was when the Rams and the Chiefs both put up 50 points each. So.
But to answer your question, I think Broncos we would be swapping out someone with NFC West. Like the 2 Wests would be swapping.
Mm-hmm.
Would be my closest guess because we're not South, we're not North, we're definitely not East. So yeah, that'd be my guess.
No, I mean the only other one you could possibly
Probably AFC
argue
South.
would be. Well, I was going to say NFC North would be closer,
Or yeah, that's true.
but because I mean at that point you're looking at Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago, and Minnesota. But I don't think you could switch one of them out. They're all like right there.
No, that's too much of a legendary conference too, or division.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sucks when a team moves because, you know, like when the Rams left St. Louis, they lost a good number of fans out there. You know, St. Louis was a pretty big Rams town.
Unless you're a Raiders fan, then you're.
Well, unless you're a Raiders fan.
Are you a LA Raiders fan? Are you an Oakland Raiders fan?
Fan.
Are you a Las Vegas Raiders fan? Which fan are you?
Where are they gonna move to next?
It's like a
Canada.
fun- Yeah. Ooh, Toronto Raiders.
Ooh, there we go.
The Rich Raiders.
The Richard Raiders. That's right.
Okay, so let's take these next 2 points because they kind of work together. I've got the AFC West projected starters that story on NFL.com, and then position battles. So let's do the story first. So the story was written by Greg Rosenthal, and these are the starters that he has listed for the start of the season. He's got Bridgewater, Gordon, Sutton, Judy, Patrick, Fant, Bowles, Reisner, Cushenberry, Glasgow, and Massey. I don't. Quarterback is interesting, but I'm more interested in Cushenberry because I really think that they're going to end up having Minor start at center.
I think Miners is going to have a really good tape to put out during preseason. So I could actually see him beating out Cushenberry for that starting spot.
And then defensive-wise, they got Harris, Jones, Miller, Johnson, Jewell, Chubb, Surtain, Fuller, Darby, Simmons, and Jackson. And we were talking before the podcast, the only one that I could see being added onto that would be Browning. I kind of agree with everything else. I mean, unless you...
I'd put Callahan over either Surtain or Darby.
Mm-hmm.
But Darby is.
I didn't think about that.
Hopefully, we don't play by money because we have 2 years of guaranteed on him. I hope they don't go
and
like. we're paying
Callaway's
him.
Well, we're already
Or
doing that with right
Callahan's
guard.
Yeah, that's true.
Callahan's your slot or your nickel, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but there've been a lot of talk about Surtain. They possibly playing some nickel as well. So, which is
Well, I guess that makes sense with Callahan's injury history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I mainly agree with it. Besides, I think Locke will probably start. But Miners, I think, is the biggest question mark. But the Miners and Kush battle, I think, is the most the biggest toss up, I would say. So, but I would probably give the edge still. Ugh. That's tough. Because Miners is coming from Division 3, so Division 3 to NFL that's a big jump. Yeah. But that's a big toss up one for me. That's probably the only one.
Well,
that I really
they kept saying that one of Cushenberry's biggest issues last season was the physicality.
Yeah,
he didn't have the physicality for a center. Whereas that's one of the reasons why they got Miners was because he can smash down trees. So
yeah,
I mean, obviously you want him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've got.
Think about all those splinters that he got when he was throwing the.
Didn't even pierce his skin.
Ken Booker had a good line here.
This one right here.
Yeah,
I was gonna have a drink with Quinn, but he's a minor.
Those dad jokes are amazing.
Bravo.
So we have position battle wise going into so we've got OTAs continuing for another week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then we're gonna have training camp, I believe in August
or July
to August.
Yeah, July to August.
Okay, because preseason games are during, which is during or after
August. last week of August, I think is the first
because they have training camp while doing preseason. That's why there's Hard Knocks, right? Because Hard Knocks is at training camp and they do the preseason games.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. But I don't remember if now, since they've changed the scheduling, if there's a week from between training camp and preseason, or there's a week between preseason and the NFL season. So I'm not sure when it starts.
So I don't think any of this, and this goes the same thing with the Drew Lock interception he threw today. I don't really think that matters right now. Nothing is really going to change until training camp. I mean, we were talking about it before. Patrick Mahomes, when he went into training camp, his first or second year, was like, he's thrown 7 interceptions in 6 days, and Case Keenum threw none. So I throw an interception, whatever. I expect them both to throw interceptions against the secondary. So it sucks if that's going to be the deciding factor in the QB battle. So I'm more interested in how he threw the interception. Was it throwing into triple coverage? Was it throwing off the back foot? What happened for the interception? Because if it's a good throw and a good route and it was just the defense made a better play, that's not on him. So
it could be Drew Lock, trying out the new play scheme. There's been a lot of hype of him, learning and studying with Peyton Manning. So it could be him, trying to do something that's not in his normal comfort zone. We don't really know, even though there's a clip of it. It's kind of quick, so we only see the part where Justin Simmons runs after he picked off Drew Lock. But he's not perfect. All right, so whether it's him or whether it's Teddy Bridgewater, I'd rather the interceptions happen at practice than them happening during the regular season. So it's okay, that didn't work. Let's try to figure something else out.
It's so insignificant too. Everybody's just grasping at any sort of.
He got a haircut. He's more serious now.
Yeah. Did you see the laser focus when he? It's a bit much. It's just fun to have the players back and on the field together, and I'm loving these press conferences. I know you guys aren't too impressed with not hearing so much, but
yeah, and I love watching the press conferences as far as getting football information in my brain, but at the same time, it's I don't really pay attention to what they're saying because it's not like there's going to be a coach or a teammate going out there and go, "Oh, Drew Lock, he sucks. He had a terrible year last year." Like, they're not going to do that. So,
no, but you know what it is, Mike. It's the other stuff, though. It's Cortland Sutton talking about Von Miller helping him through his rehab. That Von was next to him in the training room as he was recovering, and Von kept sending him videos of other people that had the same injury as Cortland that have come back and had success, including Adrian Peterson. It's Von Miller saying that Noah Fant is his absolute favorite player on the team, which is so cool. I mean, and then they were able to ask Noah about that today. I mean, the guy's an absolute this is the value of the Von Miller. This is why you're paying him, not just for the output on the field. This is this kind of thing that was missing last year with all of the injuries and the veteran leadership just not being there. I mean, Von seems to be behind the scenes with a lot of different players, and I think it's really, really cool. I mean, he went to Fant's mom's funeral. Yeah. You know, it was Fant only thought one guy was going to the funeral, and all of a sudden he goes outside where the ceremony was being held, and all of a sudden he sees, you know, Drew is there and Peyton and Fangio, and he's said he got emotional about it, and it just shows them that they cared about him and his family, and this is the type of stuff that I really feel is different about Peyton. The culture seems totally different. Don't you guys agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree totally.
And I love hearing those stories and that information from that viewpoint. But then it's, you know, people bringing up like, oh, well, coach said this about this player, and this player said this about that, and it's like, well, at the same time, Bruce Arians said that Blaine Gabbert was the most underrated player in the NFL. Like, okay, sure.
Yeah, look how that turned out.
So it's like, well, he just said it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, are people actually expecting people to talk bad about a teammate? Like
how many Crown Royals was Bruce into at that point?
Right. So it's like I get watching the press conferences for information like that, stories like that, because those are the things that go to culture. But if you're watching the press conferences to find out what a coach thinks about a player or what a teammate thinks about a teammate, like, yeah, mm-hmm. Bruce Arians and Blaine Gabbert, yeah.
Back to your former question. July 27th is when training camp starts, and it looks like there's going to be and then it's going to go like directly into the preseason, and then it looks like there's like about a week in between preseason and regular season start.
Okay, so it's not like the week or two that they had before preseason games started, and then 3 or 4 preseason games. It's training camp right into preseason games.
Yeah, essentially,
because they cut out that 4th, and now they're doing 3.
Mm-hmm. So now the 3rd preseason game is going to be pretty much the game for any player to go out there and, you know, give it their all before teams start making their final cuts.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that, because usually in preseason the 4th game is like the 4th preseason game is just all your backups playing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the 3rd one that's usually your starters play the longest, so I guess it's going to be a little different.
Warm up for the season, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now it's going to be the other way around. So probably the 2nd preseason game is going to be the warm up for the vets, where they play like, what was it, a half, depending on, you know, pending injuries and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, usually the 3rd game they play the full game. So I mean, and the 3rd game is actually the home game for the Broncos this year.
Mm-hmm.
The one home preseason.
Yeah, right. We got two on the roads, and then at home, and then they go to MetLife for week 1.
Yeah. So obviously, with the position battle, the biggest one is obviously the quarterbacks. Again, I don't think we're going to learn anything about it new until training camp starts. And didn't Fangio say that we wouldn't really see anything until preseason starts anyways? There wouldn't really be, you know, they wouldn't really be able to separate until the preseason starts.
That's what he said. Yeah,
because and again, it's going to be game time, gameplay, and things. Because we kind of like we talked about last week. You know, right now they're just thrown against air. There's really no, you know, it's 6-on-6 or 7-on-7 or 9-on-9. Mm-hmm. They're not doing 11-on-11. No contact. There's really no blitzing. So you can't really read too much into it now, anyways, because there's not much to read into.
Or at least until it's 11-on-11, you know, in training camp when they're actually got pads on pads, you know. But I don't think there's going to be. I do think Locke has advantage going into this, and he potentially could come out on top. But I don't think there will be. And Fangio is notorious for not announcing a starter until like right before a game or like the day before a game, because whatever strategic advantage it gives for the other team to have to not be able to plan for. So I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't get named a starter until like the week before Giants.
Yeah, the third game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
preseason game.
After that, no, I'm just saying well, yeah, I guess like a week, but still like close to the start
like
of the season.
he would basically decide in the third preseason game and then not let anybody know until halfway.
Yeah, essentially, unless they already had kind of an idea.
Well, then moving on from quarterback, you've got potentially a running back position battle. I'm not so much saying between Williams and Gordon, because I think that both of those are probably going to be sharing the load.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more likely between Boone and Gordon as to who would, just because I don't think there's going to be a 3-back rotation. It's probably going to be a 2-back rotation.
Mm-hmm.
But if Williams and Gordon are that rotation, then Boone would be the one that would need to replace one or the other if someone goes down or somebody keeps fumbling the ball or something like that. So I'm not so much saying that it's going to be Gordon over Williams or Williams over Gordon. It's if Boone is going to be good enough to – I don't think Williams is going to play because he's second-round rookie. We traded up to go get him. So that's why I think it comes down to how many carries Gordon gets compared to how many Boone gets.
Well, yeah, I'll go for it.
I was going to say I was listening to NFL radio with Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller yesterday, and they actually spent about 10 minutes talking about the Broncos running backs. And a couple takeaways from that is that they went through every single player, even the practice squad guys, and their thought pretty much guaranteed top 5 in the AFC, perhaps top 5 in the NFL. And Pat Kerwin thought that Gordon would start the season, but at some point Javonte would take over the starting job, which I thought was an interesting point. But there's some mad respect for the Broncos running back room right now. And as far as Boone, he plays well on special teams, so he's going to get some love on that, and that's probably where we're going to see most of his stuff, if not the third down pass plays. Boggins, what's your observation on this?
Well, if any of you watched the I got a serious echo now.
Wasn't me.
Not me either.
If any of you watched the Behind the Broncos, George Payton was talking about his running back room and after he had picked Javonte Williams and how he's really excited about the running back room with Gordon and Williams and Boone, and that was it. He did not mention Royce Freeman at all, which right. You could take it with a grain of salt, or you could be like, well, he was like almost our RB2B with Lindsey. So I don't think that he really values him that much, and I think he'll probably be on his way out. I don't think he'll make it through preseason.
Well, and that's why we're saying, do you think Royce is going to be that 4th back? Do you think Denver carries 4 backs? No. If they do, you got to think that Freeman's going to be mostly special teams. But at the same time, you could probably get better special teams play out of a different position than you would with Royce Freeman. So I don't know if they carry 4 backs. I don't know if they send him to practice squad or if they trade him or release him. I don't know. But I think if with the limit on how many players you can have on a team, I don't think they carry 4 backs. You would think that they're going to carry another quarterback just in case, or another linebacker just in case, or a safety, or
fullback,
an offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
Fullback. If you put him on the practice squad, I don't think he'll be there for long. There's going to be, especially knowing how our rivals love to take our running backs. Like they didn't take Devontae Booker from a practice squad, but when the Broncos cut him, you saw what
Raiders picked him up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Raiders picked him up, and he actually did a pretty decent job running behind that.
One game.
Yeah.
One
And
game
he made a
everybody
huge
freaked out
contract.
about.
He was an all-star for that one game.
And he got cut.
And we got rid of
Yeah.
him. Come on.
It got him
Front
huge
office,
money
what are
from
you
from the Giants. So,
Yeah. And then it was like pretty much everybody forgot about Josh Jacobs for a while. But I think that for that spot, I don't see Denver putting in a fourth running back unless it all depends on how the guys are looking, as we get towards the end of preseason. Does Melvin Gordon maybe pick up an injury? Does Javonte Williams look like he might not be able to go, somewhere along those type of ways where, right now, because of what happened with the right tackle situation, the Broncos have to play really, really carefully who they keep and cut, in terms of depth purposes, because depth is what really hurt us last season. And, scraping from the bottom of the barrel towards the end of the season and getting players that have probably never even suited up for an actual NFL team to go out there and play is something that the Broncos cannot rely on going into next season and doing over again.
Dave Glassman, he could clear waivers and make the practice squad. True, he could. I just, like Adon was saying, I don't know if he'd stay on the practice squad. Somebody might.
I don't think he'd clear waivers.
he averaged 4.9 yards a carry last year.
He's not a bad
He's a big dude.
He's not
I don't
has
think he's a
no
good
explosive fit. He has no explosive nature. He doesn't I mean I don't
It's
I
kind of
think he'd
like
be good like with the Titans or maybe like the
kinda
Ravens
with,
or something.
with Lindsey. Like Lindsey is not a bad back. I just don't think he fit.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, he didn't work well.
He was one-dimensional. That was his biggest problem.
I didn't say that. Y'all can hit him in the chat, not me. I didn't do
He was.
Okay, so the other big one the only other one I can think of would be, well, except for possibly center with Cushenberry and Miners. Right tackle, I think Miners wins that center battle. That's just me. And then right tackle, I don't foresee anybody beating out Massey. Maybe
What about Calvin?
Anderson, maybe, but I honestly think they're going to keep him behind Bowles. I don't think they're going to start because Massey isn't really a left tackle. He's not the swing tackle. That would be Anderson. So Anderson has proven that he's good in the left tackle spot. So I would think they leave Anderson to back up Bowles just in case something were to happen and put Massey at right tackle.
Bowles actually specifically mentioned Anderson as the right tackle and how cool that would be if he made it. I didn't realize how tight they were, but apparently they are, like brothers. It's
no one listens to me when I say that. They have been training together this whole entire off season. They're really close.
Do we just become best friends? Yep.
Yep. You want to do karate in the garage? Yep.
I love that movie. But I think that the Broncos might actually try to see if Calvin Anderson can maybe work that swing tackle position. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Calvin Anderson switching back and forth during preseason, just to kind of see, can he swing around and be just as strong on the right tackle position as he is on the left.
Well, yeah, and that's why I say I don't think that they start Anderson at right tackle because you would want to have that swing tackle just in case something were to happen, because you can't if they start Anderson at right and Bowles goes down, you can't just move Massey over to left and be like, here you go. That's kind of like moving Wilkinson from guard to tackle.
No, you just put Calvin at left, and then Massey goes into right.
Or
the best move was
right.
Best move was Wilkinson moving from Denver to Chicago.
Have fun.
He's your problem now, Adon.
So
if he plays guard, it'll be fine.
So outside of the offense, defensive-wise, the only position battle that I see would be where Surtain starts as compared to Callahan, Fuller, Darby, and Ojemudia.
There's another one too, Mike, inside linebacker.
Yeah, but again, I don't really think that's going to be a battle because we don't know if Browning is going to start over Jewell or Johnson, but we know that Surtain, being our number one pick, is going to be somewhere in that starting lineup. So the question is where.
Well, maybe I don't know if Surtain is necessarily going to start either. Maybe.
Well, and it
Maybe.
depends on how many corners they start. Like, are they starting 3? Are they starting 2? They going with 5? Because if they're going with 5, he's on there. Just where?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I as far as inside linebackers, I see Josie and Alexander starting.
Thanks,
But whether or not Sternad or Browning push for the wheel position, I mean that's the hope, right? Maybe in sub packages, and as far as the DBs go, Fangio already runs a lot of 5 DB sets, so I see a lot of them getting the opportunity. It's kind of like the receiver position when you say receiver 1 or receiver 2, when it's not like really that simple. There's empty sets with 3 receivers, 4 receivers out there, so it's I could see Surtain starting, but I think the primary setup is going to be Roby on the outside, Fuller on the outside, and Callahan in the slot, and then maybe Surtain as like a overhang or something.
To wherever Kelsey or Waller line up.
Yeah.
We were talking about the building the Broncos earlier in this episode, and one of the things that, if you saw it just like I did, that they mentioned when they were talking about Patrick Surtain, the scouts were, one of the comments that one of the scouts made was that Patrick Surtain was that guy who you could put out there and he would be ready to go. In terms of, you didn't have to wait for him to catch up and sit on the bench and learn from coaching and whatever for a year, like most rookies. So I believe that he'll probably be on a rotational type of schedule, role play. Maybe if Callahan is not 100% to go, or just trying to find where his strength is on the field, whether it's on the left side or the right side, or like you said, if they run a more than 2-3 cornerback scheme that Fangio likes to do. But I believe that as long as those guys stay healthy, Ronald Darby obviously had health issues coming in Denver, and so does Callahan. But I think that they're in a pretty good position to kind of say, okay, if one cornerback goes down, then Patrick Surtain is more than ready to be the backup if needed, and maybe even start it in the future.
It's interesting what the opinion of some of the veterans is of Surtain. They've talked about his size. Multiple people have. Vaughn even mentioned, like he's been paying attention to him. All of a sudden he turns around and he's like, this dude is bigger than I am. Like, he's just like, and another funny point of Darby's, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he didn't hear the question and not that he didn't know who the guy was, but they asked him his opinion of Ojemudia and he goes, who? It's like, excuse me? And they're like,
he thought he was still in Washington.
With the amount of corners he played with last year, he probably doesn't know who everybody is. Do we know who was not there at OTA? I know that Gordon wasn't there and Fuller wasn't there, right?
Shelby still isn't. Melvin Gordon's doing his own thing, apparently.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
How do you say you want to be a leader?
Fuller didn't show up, right?
I don't know. He has his routine that's what quote unquote routine that he sticks to, an off-season program. Browning, I don't think we've
Reisner,
I don't think we signed him yet.
Reisner has COVID, so he's out.
Yeah.
And then I think Fuller was the big one. Fuller wasn't there.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Do we know why?
I don't think so. Yeah.
I think Fangio said he didn't know why either. I know Chubb's not there for injury. McManus is a butthole, so he's not there. McMahon.
No, he's back.
No, he was there. He was there.
He's still McMahon. He's still McMahon junk. I don't care.
Just cross this out. Don't ask McManus to
Come on.
Yeah.
Shadow Jacker.
There goes that
the host of MHRT After Hours. We're just going to keep changing the name because I can't remember the original one we went with. What's up, boys in chat? I have a query. If Vaughn is not the Vaughn of old this season, do you think they bring him back next season? No.
It would have, if they do, it would be like a ridiculously reduced salary.
I guess it means what you're talking about. I mean, if you look at capability wise, I think we have the capability of Vaughn and Chubb getting 30 sacks together. So 15 apiece.
That's real.
I think if he's not, I think that it would really depend on Vaughn. I think that if Vaughn is willing to admit that, like, this is kind of his swan song and he's willing to sign a contract that's favorable to the team, then I think regardless of, I don't think he's going to fall off that hard, but I think regardless of performance, I think he's that much of a leader that the team would want to still be able to keep him around and then draft a young edge or whatnot to learn behind him. But that would be my guess.
If Von doesn't have a career year, you can't see him coming back at his current salary, if at all. No, at current salary, no. I think it'll if he does, and I don't think it has to be a career year. Like I said, I mean, if he can do 10 to 12, like I'm happy. But at the same time, it's not all about sacks. It's about getting into the backfield, disrupting the play, getting your hands on the quarterback, or driving him to the other side. So I think eventually it's going to turn into Chubb is going to be what Von was when DeMarcus Ware was with the team, and then Von will be that DeMarcus Ware.
I don't think there's anything Von can really do to get the size contract that he currently had in his last contract.
30 sacks in 1 year.
Even if he has
incriminating photos
by himself,
just because of his age, I don't think that the Broncos would be willing to like put that kind of cash down on him personally.
No, I totally agree with you, Boggins. Even if he does, he have a career year. I don't see the Broncos, especially a guy like George Payton. I'm pretty sure George Payton is very fond of Von Miller and appreciative for everything he's done. But at the end of the day, the Broncos are a business, and as you grow up in age, unless you're a quarterback who gets better with time instead of going the opposite way with defensive players, his name still commands a lot of attention and respect. But if he wants to, live to this mantra of staying and being a Bronco for life, he'll probably have to take a more respectable salary and say, hey, I started here and this is where I want to end my career here as a player.
Especially with Chubb getting paid too. Chubb's going to have to get paid real quick. So
one thing that we do have in Chubb already they picked
Chubb's
up
due next year, isn't he?
No, they picked up.
He's got his fifth year.
Fifth year, yeah.
What I was going to say about Von is the difference between next year and this year is that this year he actually was under contract. There was a dollar figure attached. Next year he's not. So they would be starting from zero. So they wouldn't be asking him to take a pay cut. They would be negotiating
a new deal.
So that's I think there's a big difference there than if it looks like he had to take a pay cut earlier than he wanted. So
I'm sure there would be a very high, like a lot of incentives ridden contract that if he were to stay with the Broncos, not so much in signing bonus or, you know what I mean?
If he breaks the sack record, you have to pay the man. I hope he breaks the sack record.
Wouldn't that be amazing? This defense is so exciting.
That would be awesome.
What's the sack record? Isn't it 22 and a half, I think?
22 and a half by Strahan.
By Strahan, yeah. I think it was last year won the Super Bowl.
I mean, it's possible. I don't know. I don't know because we don't know what Von we're getting. So it's like,
I think he'll be very solid. I do. I just, like I said, I don't know if the contract would have to be more favorable towards the Broncos than it would be Von, and it really depends on what Von wants to do. Like if he wants to go play somewhere else, then that's more of an opportunity for someone else to pay him big money.
If he goes to the Raiders, I cry and I quit. Travis Tarbox, what up, fellas? Came in a little late. This and MHH are by far the best podcasts. They make my work night not suck so much. LOL, Denver Broncos for life. Thanks, man. We appreciate that. And seeing a lot of people, like we were talking about there was a gentleman, I'm assuming, that came into the chat last week. It was like, this podcast, blah, 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 go to MHH. We are technically a branch off of MHH. Like we all met in MHH. Spin-off.
Yeah.
We're all
not affiliated with them, but we all met.
Who needs structure?
I would say that all four of us, I'd say
we are the Jones.
Probably all seven of us, like in the whole MHRT, we all would be on that Mount Rushmore of MHH and like participating in chats and moderators of chat rooms. And like, that's where we met. That's what we like to do. We just have a different take. Like we're fans and fans only. So we can come in here and talk about whatever and form our opinions in the podcast. Whereas with MHH or with Broncos Country Tonight or Locked on Broncos, they come in as media personnel with their opinions formed and then give information out. We form our opinions on here. So we can talk about whatever we want and it doesn't matter. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do it, because we could come in here and have fun and just talk like we're having chats with with friends. So we appreciate it.
That's
really
right.
That's right. Let's see here. Any more? Raul Flores, 17 games. I am kind of excited about the 17 games though. Like it's weird because I'm used to like 8-8 or 10-6.
Can't go 500 anymore.
Yeah, you can't go 500 anymore. But I am excited. I understand it from the player side of it, where they're a little upset that it's another game because you already are doing so much in practices and camps and games, and like I get it. Me personally, instead of changing it to 17 games, I would have rather they'd expanded playoffs a little bit more, like maybe add another team or two instead of.
They already did.
I know. Okay, another one. More.
Again, more. Yeah.
But that's whatever. I don't make enough money to even.
Contracts, man. Gosh, contracts for players. Once this new TV deal comes through, the salary cap like baby booming back up, and then it's going to be, the players having to play 17 games now. Contracts are going to be ridiculous pretty soon. That's probably like good for the Chiefs for getting Mahomes done before that. Like, imagine if we have to pay, like if Drew pops off and we got to pay Drew. Ugh,
it won't be pretty.
Yeah.
Shadowjacker, fellas, what player that's not a starter on the team will shock the fans?
Shock the fans.
Shock them. Duffy from Kentucky. He'll be out there fake punting, throwing touchdowns, all kinds of fun stuff. I don't know. Like
do an offense and a defense, Mike.
I would say the only answer I can really give would be Boone at running back. No, I take that back. Who is the tall wide receiver we took in the draft, like 6 rounds?
Seth Williams.
Yeah, Williams for wide receiver. I could see him doing something. And then the only one I could say defensive wise would be Browning, just because we don't even know if he's going to start. So I'd say Browning on that one.
Yeah, Browning would be my choice too.
So sorry, go for it.
Go, Marcus. Go ahead.
I would probably say on defense, I will say Jamar Johnson.
I should have gone. That was mine.
And I will also, for offense, surprising.
I can't tell if he paused or if he's
me neither. I think he froze.
Oh, there you go. He's putting a lot of thought into that one.
I think Javonte Williams has all of a sudden become like, as everyone has caught on now, and they're like Javonte Williams. But I will go with Tyree Cleveland.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, Tyree Cleveland, that's a good choice.
See, on the offensive side, I was going to go Williams because I think that's an obvious one. In defense, I thought Jamar Johnson because I can see K-Jack not lasting the full season. And I think Sternad is going to have some impact on this team. We didn't get a chance to see him at all last year outside of training camp, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him.
See, my other thought was Stearns instead of Johnson.
Yeah.
Just for the same thing with not knowing if K-Jack's going to make it. I was going to say Stearns over Johnson.
So we're talking about these other wide receivers. Does Spencer make the team? I just don't see it. Do you?
Deontay Spencer.
Isn't he the punt returner, kick returner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Unless somebody wows during preseason, an undrafted rookie or something, and can.
But wows how? Like wows as a receiver or wows as a punt returner?
With some breakneck speed, just do something that Deontay Spencer only did once all last season in punt touchdown. So, but then again, we all really don't know what kind of a guy
Royce Freeman is. He's gonna return the ball.
I could see him practice squad. I could see him staying on. I don't think other teams would really want to. I mean, unless you're like the Bills picked up and made him look good.
McKenzie.
Yeah, Isaiah McKenzie made him look good. So it just depends on the offense. But I think we have too many in the pot to. So I'd agree.
Can Boone return kicks?
No Kager.
I don't think they would. I'm guessing
Boone return kicks.
No.
I
don't think they'd have Boone.
Tyree Cleveland will probably be.
Yeah, I figured Cleveland, but I didn't know if as a secondary
or Hamlin.
You need guys you need those returners to be doing more than one thing, and Spencer just does not do that.
I saw where they had I want to say it was, I don't know. I don't remember where it was, but it was Sutton as a starting receiver, and then they had Judy on the outside as well, with Hamler in the slot and Patrick backing up Sutton.
Wait, can you say that again?
I don't know if they had Sutton starting.
Mm-hmm.
They had Judy on the other side, and then they had Hamler in the slot.
Okay. So
Patrick was backing up Sutton. I don't know if I like that. I think I'd rather have Sutton and Patrick with Judy in the slot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that you'll see a lot of different sets, a lot of different formations. I mean, sometimes, who better to back up Patrick than, or like to swap out than
Sutton
Judy? You know what I mean? Like you have a lot of different.
Right. Well, and that's why I figured if you're going to switch out slot, you'd switch out Judy and Hamler.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
or imagine doing like an empty set and then having KJ and Judy in there and like the slot and like no H back, and then just like good luck to your linebacker that has to cover one of them across the field.
Right. Well, and last year Hamler was on the opposite side of Patrick, right? Sometimes he was outside. Did he have more success there or in the slot?
I mean, not usually. Like if it's press coverage, you're not gonna. He's not gonna do well. But
with the separation that Judy can make with just his route running,
mm-hmm.
he'd be better in the slot, right?
Essentially, I mean, you could.
So is Hamler better in the slot or is Hamler better on the outside?
I would definitely put Hamler more on the slot.
Okay.
You use him mainly to take the stacking of the box out of the way, because you're sending him down the field because he's such a deep threat, and so you don't necessarily play him on the outside. I mean, he did in Carolina against Carolina, but I wouldn't, just especially not on press coverage because he's way too small.
Yeah, and I know that obviously they're gonna switch around spots.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the fact that we have Sutton on one side where you can throw it up and he'll go get it no matter where it's at. You got Patrick on the other side, who is you throw it to him, he's going to catch it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Judy, who's your slot receiver that is going to get open within the first 5-10 yards.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I like that. I thought it was weird that they didn't have Patrick starting. I mean, I guess I get it, but I think I'd rather have Patrick out there than Judy.
So if we do an offer for Rodgers, which I totally expect to happen, which receiver is thrown in there?
That was the greatest segue of all time.
Probably Jerry Judy.
Yeah,
or KJ Hamler.
Yeah.
You think so?
I watch Cortland and I'm like, this guy is a special person. Like he's not even, it's like when you listen to Justin Simmons, it's like this is more than a football player. Like this is an actual, like a tremendous individual. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to get rid of, I don't want Cortland to be part of that deal.
You don't think Patrick would be a good wide receiver to trade?
No, he's
maybe.
I know he's going to be a free agent, but
yeah, I think it has to do a lot
this year.
I think under normal circumstances, like we don't have your average receiver. We have a lot of potential at receiver, right?
Right.
And I think that a lot of these younger guys that are on rookie contracts are a lot more appealing than someone that Cortland's coming off an ACL and you don't necessarily know how he's going to perform yet. And he's also going to be going into a contract year next year. So I just think that the potential for a first round pick in Jerry Judy or maybe a KJ Hamler, you probably have to give up another draft pick for that. You're not going to get, or you might just not get another one back. But I think Jerry Judy is probably the number one, be the number one get for that.
2-1s, Locke and Patrick for Rodgers and Adams. That's not going to happen for Rodgers and Adams. But Adams is a free agent after this year. So if we get Rodgers,
Dave, you're hired.
That we could get Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
But I think it would be 2-1s, probably a receiver and a defensive player. I don't know if they'd take a quarterback.
I just want to live in a world though where you have Sutton on one side, Devontae Adams on the other side, Jerry Judy in the slot, and Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Like
It's a video
take
game
it.
at that point.
Yeah, it's Madden.
We need to have MHRT swords made. Just saying. How am I supposed to ship those things?
Sure.
Yeah, just bring them on the plane.
Yeah,
Just have them made out of foam, Mike, like those foam fingers.
those things last like 2 minutes in my house. Either the dog's chewing it up or my kids are chewing it up. One of the two.
Oh, jeez.
All right, so that, unless we got any other throwing in here, I don't see any.
No.
Yeah, I don't think. Nope, not that one. That one. 2-1 lock and practice for Rodgers and Adams. I don't even think that's. I mean, if you're throwing Adams in there, you're looking at like 3 firsts, and off like probably 2 receivers, a defensive player. So you're giving up a lot. Whereas Adams,
I'm sorry.
well, and Adams is going to be free agent next year. So
Yeah.
I mean, we could just if we get Rodgers, we can just go get Adams too.
And people keep saying lock like that's some sort of like big trade value or something that the Packers would necessarily want, when in reality they would probably want to just push out Jordan Love and to see what he actually can do. And it like in reality it would probably be like Teddy Bridgewater that would be given up.
I think if we're trading out a quarterback, yes, Drew has more potential, but Green Bay already has a quarterback with potential. What they would need is that quarterback that they know can step in and play well. So I think in that scenario, Bridgewater is the bigger trade piece in Drew Lock. So
because
they
don't need 2 developmental quarterbacks. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all good. I'm just like we're getting there on time, so we're gonna go ahead and hop out. So that's gonna about do it for us. We want to thank every single person that joined us in the chat today. And again, we're on a quest for 1,000. I've been asked about how to support the podcast, and this is the best way to do it. Help us reach 1,000 subs on YouTube. So make sure you slap the thumbs up button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share so that you can know when we go live and anytime we post amazing content on our page, so that other Broncos fans out there in Broncos country know that we are here. Make sure that you're tuning in at 6-5-4-3 on Sundays for the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast with Johnny and Isaiah, and at 7-6-5-4 on Tuesdays to Broncos Talk with a 6'10" and Rich. And with that, we're going to head out. We love you all. Have a great weekend. Mile high five. I'm just going to say it because we are terrible at doing it.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
High five. Whoop-pow!
Holy, we got
Boggins did it too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He's in a good mood today.
On that high note, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye.
Happy Memorial Day weekend, everyone.